in Psalms it says that David led with the heart of a shepherd and the skill of a leader. And what I'm going to share with you in these few moments together is a medley of those churches in 2019 have been the largest, and not just largest, but the fastest growing churches in the country, just to walk through. And we've had the privilege of working with about 2/3 of them. It's been fun. And had conversations and connections with a bunch of the other ones, but these are ones that I just know a little bit more personally, and I thought I'd walk through what are 15 or so of them and the features that I would have in my relationship with them that really are the keys to them being one of the fastest growing churches. I'd also say that some of these guys are not just fast growing with high percentage increases, but they also are some of the larger, and those are really unique ones when you kind of study those guys, what God is doing and through their life of ministry. And this faster growing of these lists is really just one indication. I happen to be in San Juan Capistrano at a church behind me that is the San Juan Mission, and it's known to be the birthplace of modern missions in California, and this location, the birthplace of Orange County, where I live, and down the street from Saddleback, where I served for a couple decades with some of the churches I work with. Anyway, now working with over 50 of these, the larger churches in this year's largest list in 2019. I'm focusing in this one on the 15 of the fastest growing. So here they go. First one is Chris Hodges. And Chris Hodges, the number one thing I'd say with him is focus. I just went this morning to a church that is an ARC church, that they're doing what is known, that he has self-identified as one of his key things is growth track, and really having an intentional or systematic process for discipleship that could work on any given Sunday. So, the first weekend is 101, second weekend's 201, 301, 401. My own daughter today went to Growth Track at this small new church plant in San Clemente. Amazing. And he self-professed that this was the strategy that he learned from Rick Warren and with the class process that I actually taught for years at Saddleback. And but he modernized it, and he made it a little bit more effective or efficient maybe in how he delivered it, and that's kind of the secret to the strategy. But his focus on those things is just brilliant. And when you hear his sermon, you hear him talk about small groups, you hear him talk about Growth Track, you hear him talk about Dream Team, which is their kind of ministry thing, opportunity that gets you serving fast, even before you get gift-based ministry, which sometimes takes a long time in other systems. That focus on his side is huge. Judd Wilhite at Central Christian took over on the backside of Gene Apple, moving to Willow Creek. Gene, I remember meeting Judd when he first drove up in a white Datsun B210 and had such a fun conversation with him. He is such a great guy. I was with him about a month ago when ARC hosted the conference out there. Him and his wife have just done an amazing job, and he is such a systems thinker. The thing I'd say about Judd is engagement. He is always looking for more and better ways to engage people, and so what he's doing now is his engagement is he's trying to figure out how to engage people from attending 1 time a month on average to 2 times. Just trying to crack that code, that little dial, because people are attending 1.4 times now a month, not a year. And so we're trying to figure out how to take that. The other thing he's engaging on is how to get people serving faster. So you get them moving. So as soon as they're coming in, use that as a sticky factor or a way to be able to get people to engage. The next one is Shane Farmer. I met at Willow where we did the major, campaign, first in-house campaign with him and the rest of the Bill and the rest of the team called Wiser Together, and he was the project manager, one of the teaching guys, thought to maybe take over there. He's now at a church called Cherry Hills in Colorado, and just killing it. And he was, I think, in the top 5 a few years back in terms of fastest growing. But the guy, what I would say for him is passion. He's a rock climber. He'll go to the mat in one of the toughest sports. But he's just a great guy. He's the hardest working guy, but he's super passionate about wanting to reach people for Christ. He's a teacher of another kind. I remember some other guys in my life, but he's a young guy, but he's just taken off, and it's just fun to watch. I'd say passion. The next one is Tim Lucas. Tim Lucas is in New Jersey. We're working with them, helping them put together what looks to be the potential of their own kind of Daniel Plan deal that he did, a 40-day kind of model that was called FAST, that was just brilliant. He's taken the best practices and campaigns and taken it to another level. That's why he was wanting to engage us and help him with a book that he wanted to do and some things. But what I would say with him is quality. The guy builds systems that are unbelievable. And he walked me into the room that they had for their multi-sites that he's got, I think 6, and he wants to go to 10 or maybe 15. it looked like a staging area for Costco or something like that. It was amazing how he had got his staff and motivated them and managed them to be able to do this at Liquid Church. I love the name, Liquid Church, with Tim Lucas. He's one of the sharpest minds, strategic leaders, and great communicators. And you see these guys in this fast growing, they are figuring out how to manage those turning points, those breakthrough spots. And Tim is no exception. The other one is Terry Brooks. Terry Brooks, African American guy, Southern California. We've developed numerous curriculum with him in what we're calling a Next Step series that is kind of their mission, vision, and values kind of a series. And we've done 5 of them for them with them. But what I would say with Terry is I'd say best practices, because he's listening and learning. He's a purpose-driven guy, follows that model. He's one of their teaching guys. But I just love Terry. He's just doing a great job. And in an African-American church, introducing small groups sometimes can be a little challenging, but he is making it happen, and I'm just proud of him. Gene Apple at Eastside. I met Gene when he was... just came to Fullerton, actually, after he left Willow at Eastside Christian, and knew then more about his legacy being at Willow Creek and then at Central. He's the one guy that I know that's been a megachurch pastor at 3 different places. But he's the word that I would probably give him is next steps, because he's always looking for what's the next steps. He's a systematic thinker. He reminds me of Andy Stanley in some ways, super relational in his case, but he is really very intentional. I walked in on his brand new worship center, and then we produced a series called Hope Rising. When I saw that worship center, I thought we got to produce something in here, and we did. And we did a series called Hope Rising based off testimonies and things from his place, his people, and teaching by him. And he got tender. He cried during 2 different sessions in the curriculum. But we put 4,000 people in groups, and the weekend service was running for 4,200 or something like that. It was just an amazing run. We launched right off Easter Sunday. But I would say next steps. He's now trying to figure out how to do some of Chris Hodges' stuff, where he's moving them into this growth track thing faster. And his whole lobby and everything is wired for it. He's a great model, super guy to study if you guys are looking for, places to go. The next one that I would kind of go to is Stovall Weems. Stovall Weems, the key word that I say with him is evangelism. He's just an amazing communicator. He's an amazing memory. His bride is the one kind of running the staff, which is kind of a cool thing. She's just a super strong leader. And with Stovall, his just heart for evangelism is just like so strong. When you see him in the pulpit, he's kind of like a Stephen Furtick kind of a communicator. Just a great guy, one of the ARC guys, and on the lead team. And he's been fun to produce numerous times in different projects. But he's a very dynamic guy. Their marriage is magical. And then we produced a series in their home with him and his wife, Carrie. That was a beautiful series. That was a blast to be able to put together. But he is, his heart for evangelism and next is just second to few. I would put him up there. Mike Burnett, this guy is unbelievable. He's in Tennessee. And I would say for him, hungry. This guy is, just last year I think he was like 15, and this year I think he was number 1 on the fastest growing church list. Tough to keep up with those kinds of ratios, but this guy has a really sharp team. I was just on the phone call with him the other day, and we may be doing some stuff with them. But I love this guy's heart. I met him actually at a different event that was just social, and all of a sudden I find out he's a pastor. He didn't know who I was, and met him and his wife and his 4 kids they've got, but he's just a really good guy. God's doing some amazing things in his life. But I'd say hungry. He just is eating up anything else he can learn, networks that he can kind of be connected to be able just to take things to the next level. I really like this guy's heart. Chuck Boer, he's a bit of a sleeper at Crossroads Church. You wouldn't necessarily pick him out of a crowd, but he's super intentional and thoughtful. He's a guy who wants to disciple his people. He's got his people going through kind of revelation in a very intensive kind of a model. He has taken the best of 40 days, this, that, and the other. He's done his own kind of church-wide campaigns. They brought us in to maybe help with some leadership development stuff and maybe with their next step stuff and do some production of kind of his membership curriculum and a couple of those things. And so I'm working with Galen Thomas, who's a guy who hired from Willow. I hired him at Willow, and now he's his executive pastor. He's just really good people. But Chuck is a guy at Crossroads that is just doing an amazing job. It's really fun to hear and see. When I went in and saw him teaching, it was just inspiring myself. He's not far from us, and I would kind of say the key words for him is deeper and wider. He wants him to go deeper, and he wants him to go wider because he's got a real heart for evangelism. He's got a heart for the gospel. And then you'll find that with a lot of these guys that they're not just teaching pastors. They got a heart to try to reach people for Christ and then move them into a next step. That's how they go there. Next one is Brian Tome, probably one of the most inspiring guys that I've ever met. And I went out to go to meet him and his church. Just visited. I couldn't figure out where the main campus was, the broadcast campus. And so I get a chance to catch up with him, and I tell him that, and he laughs. And I said, how'd you figure it out? Well, there's 5 services on Saturday night. So he said, I wonder how people figured that out. But he brought me back in the green room, and we sat down and we talked. And when we sat there, he told me about what God was doing, and he had pulled together 10 guys to help him try to figure out the innovations of what's next for church. And that's the word I'd give you for Brian, is next. I mean, he added 4,000 last year, and this last year it was another 5,000. What God's doing in his life is amazing, but he is one of the most strategic leaders, combined with one of the best teachers that has, again, a heart for evangelism. It reminds me of some gifts like Bill Hybels has, and with a kind of a mix like that. But it's really interesting. He's such a good guy, and when I saw him, he just kind of embraced me and brought me back to the green room and met with everybody. And just to see what he's doing, it's really one of a kind. And I was just really inspired of what God's doing in the church. If it's going to be more like this. Michael Fletcher. With him and his wife, we've done several different projects, one called Life-Giving Marriage with him and his bride. That was hilarious. And some of our earlier productions on how to produce pastors in the round with an audience like that. And then he just killed it on the weekend service and the 1-2 punch. We put a ton of people in groups. It was one of the best launches. We worked with him for a year, did 3 different series, one out and about around the town. That was a lot of fun. And he's just a teachable guy. The word I'd say with Michael is intentional. The guy is just very intentional in what he does, and he lives in a military town. How do you reach and minister to military people without a strategic side? And but I really appreciate him and his bride, and he's a triathlete like me, and so I love that part about him too. But he's a guy who's not only just leading well, but he's also helping others grow, and he's doing leadership network stuff and things like that. And so the next one is Sean Hennessy. Sean Hennessy is one of a kind. He's the mix between a lumberjack and a Duck Dynasty, and just but he's an evangelist, itinerary evangelist before he's a pastor. Him and his wife is super strong tag team. Very excited about working with them on digital marketing things and kind of the next gen on church. These guys are really fun, and I'm very excited about being able to work with him and his wife. They've just invited us to that journey. Then Ken Foreman, and Ken Foreman is become a great friend. He's a pastor of pastors. His dad, started the church, but he did not ride on those laurels. He just continued that journey to a whole nother level. He is just good people. And they've got one of the fastest growing multi-site churches in the country. But the word I give him actually is creativity. He's got a flat screen deal panel, on the what do you call it, plasma-like thing on the screen, but it's all honeycombed and stuff. And he actually has all kinds of different words and text and pictures throughout the message that isn't just a single flat screen. It's one of the most amazing things that he's able to control, actually, by kind of a hand control thing. But I love this guy. He's just good people, and he is super innovative and a tremendously courageous pastor and leader. And so it's kind of my deal on him. Anyway, those are just some of the ones that I would kind of say. There's a lot of other pastors on the list, but if you watch these guys, there's always some key thing. And so creativity for Ken, and Sean, I'd say I didn't say, but it's digital. It's kind of his digital world. That's where he's going. He's got an evangelist gift, but he's also wanting to figure out how to do some really fun and creative and innovative things. So those are some of the ones off that fastest growing, kind of the top 15 or so, and hopefully it gives you a few ideas. For us, we're now kind of taking this seriously, and we're decided to go ahead and help not just coach in the production and the small group side, but also lessons and learnings in the top 100 churches. So if you're watching this and you'd like to join us for this new coaching program, or our new more on-site consulting that I'm doing with only a couple of churches, but we'd love to be able to help. Unfortunately, we're not able to produce as many projects as we're doing, and so now what we're doing is we're actually coaching teams up on how to produce their own campaigns, their own curriculum, and give them all the resources and the assets and the secrets and the tools and things like that to help them kind of go the next level. So to the degree we can help you guys, we would love it. Anyway, until then, blessings. Brett.